And he takes the bread and it says he distributed it. Well, how did he distribute? He broke it. In order for the bread to be distributed, it had to be broken, right? In order for the bread to be spread, it had to be broken. And we know that Jesus was broken so that he could be shared. And so Jesus is giving them an object lesson. In order for you to be shared, many times you got to be broken. And what we think if I'm broken, I'm not blessed. John 6. So we're going to go through John 6. Now, if you have been with us this year, we've been going through the book of John, and we've covered not a whole lot of ground. We just finished chapter 5 last week, so you'd think we'd be a little bit further along than that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to unpack 71 verses from the longest chapter in the book of John in one setting. So I did it in first service barely, and so we're going to try it again. But this is full of narrative and discourse, and many of it you're very familiar with. In fact, this is the discourse that Jesus has, the conversation that he has is called the Bread of Life discourse, and it is the second longest teaching that Jesus has in the book of John, only next to the Upper Room Discourse, which we'll devote to a whole series. And it starts off with a familiar story called the feeding of the 5,000. And so this is a story that is in all four Gospels. It's the only one. It's the only miracle that's in all four Gospels, and it starts in verse 4. And this is a picture. And one of the things that I want you to kind of keep in the back of your mind as we're tracking through this, for those of you that are biblically literate and you do know the Exodus story, and you know the story of the children of Israel and the Passover, you want to keep that in the back of your mind because John 6 is really a throwback to Passover. It's also a throw forward to the last Passover in the upper room, and some of the things that are going on there. So keep that in the back of your mind as you're tracking here, because there's a lot of types and shadows. We'll mention a few of them, but getting to all of them will be kind of difficult. So it says that Jesus went up to a mountainside with his disciples. Now, it's interesting. Moses went up to a mountain. So Jesus goes up to a mountain, and he takes his disciples with him. And there's a large crowd that is following him because of the signs. Now, this is considered the fourth sign in the book of John. There's a bunch that we're digging through. And so this would be considered the fourth sign. And there are 5,000 men there. Now, ancient Jewish literature, they would only record the men. So only the men get counted, which is super messed up. But they only counted the men. And so what you have is you have 5,000 men plus their families. And so it's safe to say that there's like 15,000 people there. Like, this is a mega church. And so they're showing up, and Jesus goes up to the mountain, and this is where and they're all like, man, Jesus, we gotta go hear what this guy is talking about. We're gonna go see what he's gonna do today. And that was the real drawing card, is the signs. And so it says in verse 4, now the Passover of the feast was at hand. So there's the indicator of the timeline, which is so beautiful how it links everything together. Lifting up his eyes, Jesus saw that the large crowd was coming towards him, and he said to Philip, "Where are we to buy bread so that these people may eat?" Notice he didn't ask for the money. He asked where. Where are we going to get food for people to eat? And he said this to test him, for he himself knew what he would do. Now, many times when the Lord asks us a question, he's testing us. Now, let me just say this real quick. Jesus doesn't test you with cancer. Jesus doesn't test you with all this kind of stuff. Now, he tests you in the sense that he grades the paper, but he's not causing all the test. But in this, he is asking, and I've found oftentimes that the test is the question, right? It's just like when you go to school, you have questions you have to get right. And so he's questioning, he's testing Philip, and Philip answered, I have 200 denarii of bread, which that would be like 6 to 8 months of wages, would be enough for each of them to just get a little bit. So even if we had access to Sam's Club, it would take like 6 to 8 months of wages to do that. And one of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said to him, there is a boy here who has 5. Everybody say 5. We know 5 is the number of grace. 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. But what are they for so many? In other words, like, this kid brought his lunch, but like, how is that going to feed all these people? I want to suggest to you this, that not always look for God's resources in your life in what you have, which would be lacking. What the Lord always wants us to do with where we're lacking is, the question is always, I believe that this is what happens with Elijah, is what's in the house. And so many times we're thinking of the resources out there, but what's beautiful about the Lord is he can multiply the resources that you have already. And so we're kind of like always kind of looking to the outside, and the Lord's going, really what it boils down to, are you willing to give me what you have? Because if you're willing to give me what you have, a little can become a lot when we put it in the hands of Jesus. And so what I want to encourage you in this story is have a miracle mindset in the areas of your life, because many times we focus on our lack instead of surrendering what we have. And many times we don't surrender what we have because we're afraid and we have a poverty mindset that God's not going to take care of us. And so there's a boy here who has 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. What are we going to do with so many? And Jesus said, have the people sit down. Now, I love it that they're sitting down, because sitting down is not a working position. It's a receiving position. And now there was much grass in the place, so the men sat down, which grass in that, you can kind of hyperlink this a little bit to the green places that we sit down. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not be in lack, right? He leads me. He gives me a quiet place. He gives me a place to rest. So here they are in this resting place. So the men sat down, about 5,000 in number. So Jesus took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed them to those who were seated. So also with the fish, as much, get this, as much as they wanted. So Jesus doesn't go, let's just give them a little snack, just get a little bite of a little scale off a fish, a little crumb off the bread. No, it says that they had as much as they wanted. As much as they wanted. And when they had eaten to their fill, which is awesome, right? They're stuffed. They were famished, now they're stuffed. That's the way it works when we eat from his table. And so when they had eaten to their fill, he said to them, gather up the leftover fragments, for that nothing may be lost. Some translations say that nothing would be wasted. And we know that in this story that there were 12 basketfuls left. Why was there 12? Well, first of all, 12 is the number for apostolic authority. There were 12 disciples. There were 12 tribes of Israel. And then there's 12 baskets because there's 12 disciples, and they're going to take that bread home. How many know when the Lord does a miracle, he's going to provide enough for you individually as well? It's not just about the greater miracle. It's also about the miracle that happens in your house. But if you'll participate in the bigger miracle, all your needs will be provided too. And many people are just enough for my house. And it's like, if you will get in on it, on what God's doing in general, then you're going to be in on it on what God's doing in private. So now with that number 2, so when it says 2 denarii, the word denarii there, many scholars and commentators believe the focus is not on the 200, but on the 2, because 2 equals lack. So two is the number of insufficiency. And so when he has 2 fish, that's not enough fish to feed anybody. It's a number of insufficiency. And so what's beautiful is this kid is going up. Now, this is my lunch pail. This is my actual lunch pail. It's awesome. I love this lunch pail because it's got built-in, you keep it in the freezer because it's got built-in cooler in there. So it's like you don't have to put an ice pack. It is an ice pack. And so this is my lunch pail. Now, if I'd showed you my lunch pail like 45 years ago, you would have saw my Kiss Destroyer lunch pail, little metal one, and my mullet, my Kiss Destroyer thing when I was in, kindergarten, first, second grade. But this is an adult lunch pail. So I would love to have that other one, but this is what I got today. So this kid shows up. His mom's like, hey, you're going to go hang out with Jesus. Maybe his mom's there. I don't know. But this kid has his lunch with him. And so Jesus is like, what do we got? So he's testing Philip. He's like, hey, go get some food. Where are we going to get food? He's like, we don't have enough money. Even if there's food available, we don't have the money. He's like, well, what do we got? And he's like, well, ask around. So they find out. So Andrew's like, hey, this kid brought his lunch today. We can share that. And Jesus is like, we can share that. And so what the disciples saw a problem, Jesus saw the opportunity. So they get this kid's lunch. Could you imagine being this kid? Like you show up and Jesus is asking for your lunch. First of all, I'm like, that's my lunch. Like, get your own, right? But Jesus has a track record of providing. Whenever we give him our little, he provides a lot. And so this kid opens up his lunch and starts handing out stuff. And so they didn't have any fish, like dried fish they had at the store, but they had these Swedish fish. You guys, does anybody eat these? Like you go to the movies, you're like, oh, just some Swedish fish. Y'all, like these are like a thing. Like when I was at the store, I was like, they didn't definitely have dried fish because I was at Tom Thumb and that's too many white people, so they don't have dried fish. And so, but they do have Swedish fish, which probably only white people eat these. Am I right? Am I right? So does anybody like Swedish fish? There's a couple of Swedish fish. So they were probably bigger than these. I don't get it. I don't know why that they sell these in stores, but they do actually have 2 boxes, just like he had 2 fish. So this guy had 2. I'm not gonna. I will pass the box. There you go, bro. You can take that or give it away. So anyway, he has these fish. They give him the fish, they weren't Swedish fish, they're something else. And then he had these 5 little barley loaves. And that's how many I have in here. I have 5. And so Jesus takes his lunch and he takes the bread and it says he distributed it. Well, how did he distribute? He broke it. In order for the bread to be distributed, it had to be broken, right? In order for the bread to be spread, it had to be broken. And we know that Jesus was broken so that he could be shared. And so Jesus is giving them an object lesson. In order for you to be shared, many times you got to be broken. And what we think if I'm broken, I'm not blessed. Don't we? If I wasn't so broken, I would be blessed. I would be content. I would have everything you need. But I want you to understand that being broken does not necessarily mean that you're not blessed. Yeah. And many of us today in our culture, when we are broken, what we tend to do is we go, no, I need to hold on to my brokenness. I need to isolate. I need to stay by myself. I need to get alone. I need to indulge in self. I need self-improvement. I need self-care. And the problem with self-care is that it doesn't give Jesus any room to care for you. And so the Bible never teaches this thing about self-care. I'm not saying you don't take care of yourself. I absolutely think you should. But listen, we are so obsessed with self that we don't share what we have because we are so consumed with our needs being taken care of. But I want to tell you that even in your brokenness, that you can still share. I would suggest that there's not a person in the room today that isn't broken a little bit. I'm broken a little bit. And I know many of you, I know your stories, I know your struggles. You're broken a little bit, but that doesn't mean you can't be shared. And what's awesome about Jesus is he blesses it and then he breaks it. So the bread is blessed. And I want to tell you that you can still share your faith even though you're broken. Come on, you can still be gracious and you can still be kind. You can still share what God's doing. You can still be a blessing to others even though you're broken. You don't have to self-isolate. You don't have to get caught up in yourself. In fact, I would encourage you, that's exactly what the devil wants to do when he breaks you. But I believe this. I believe God works in the beauty of brokenness. And if Jesus wasn't broken, we wouldn't be blessed at all. But because he was broken, we can all receive from him. So even when we're broken, we're blessed. So he says this, continue the story, verse 14. When the people saw the sign that he had done, they said, this is indeed the prophet who has come into the world. This is Deuteronomy 8:5. This is when Moses says that someone's going to come like him. We've hit this earlier on in the series. Perceiving then that they were about to come and take him by force to make Jesus king, Jesus withdrew to the mountain by himself. So here they are. They see Jesus perform this miracle, and they're like, let's make him king. This is the king we've been wanting. But here's the deal. Everybody thinks that they want a king like Jesus, but he's going to lead different than you think he's going to lead. And so they think, let's make him king so he can take over Rome and he can set all of us free. Maybe he is the Messiah and he's going to do it through governmental authority or for force. He's going to do it from the top down. That's not the way his government works. His government works from the inside out, not from the outside in. And so Jesus, he's like, that's not going to happen. First of all, I don't need your crown. I'm already king. So I'm going to go ahead and sneak off over here so you guys don't get caught up in this idea. So Jesus disappears. So the disciples, he sends them on the other side of the lake. Now, when it says the lake, this is the Sea of Galilee. And the Sea of Galilee is salt water, but it's no different than a lot of the lakes that we have in Texas. So it's about, if you've been to Joe Pool Lake, it's about 5 times the size of Joe Pool Lake. Or if you've been up to like Lake Texoma, which is a big lake, it's about half the size of that. So it's not this big, huge lake. There's at least 4 to 5 miles because they travel this. And so Jesus sends them across to go to the other side. How many know that there's always another side? Like the Lord has you and he wants to do something else. And so he sends them all to the other side. Now Jesus just does this miracle and then he takes off. Well, it says this in verse 19, when they had rowed about 3 or 4 miles, They saw Jesus walking on the sea. So here they are. They're out there. Other Gospels tell us that there's a storm, and he's coming near the boat, and they were frightened when they saw Jesus. In fact, the other Gospels say that they thought he was a ghost. So here's Jesus walking there like, hey, what's that? That's Jesus. And they were frightened. Sometimes when Jesus shows up, you'll be a little frightened, right? And that's okay because you're in awe of he's going to show up in ways that you don't expect. So he shows up, he's walking there tripping, and he says this. He says, "It is I, do not be afraid." Now, I want to help you a little bit with the Greek language here. So that word, I'm going to teach you some Greek. You ready? Yes. Everybody say ego. Ego. Like Lego on my ego. Ego. And then say me. Me, right? Me. Ego me. So when Jesus says ego me, translated in the Greek to the English, that word ego me actually means I am. So Jesus says, I am, do not be afraid. This is the same word that he's going to use in a few minutes when he goes, I am the bread of life. This is the same time when he comes up and he goes, I am the resurrection of life. All these I am statements, this is the first time he says it, and he says it to the disciples in a boat. And he's like, I'm letting you guys in on something. I'm giving you new language that I am with you, that the I am is with you. So this is all taken back to Exodus chapter 3, verse 14, where remember Moses when he gets called by the Lord in the burning bush? It's all over the story of Moses, right? The law was given through Moses, but grace and truth came through Jesus, 1:17. And so there's the burning bush, and the Lord's like, you need to go set my people free, all this stuff. And he's like, well, who am I going to say sent me? Well, I'm going to tell him this fiery bush. And he goes, I am who I am. Yes. And so Moses is like, all right, that's his name. His name is in there. Now we sing like the great I am. This is what Jesus is saying. Yeah. He's saying, I am Yeshua. I am Yahweh. I am God in the flesh. What is he saying why is it I am? Because I am indicates that he is self-existent. Yeah. And if he is self-existent, he is also pre-existent. Yeah. You could just say it this way. God simply is. Yeah. Where did God come from? He was before there was a come from. He was before all things. Yeah. Colossians tells us is that Jesus is before all things, and in all things he is created. So Jesus is saying in this moment to alleviate their fears, he's like, don't be afraid, I am. The I am is here. The second thing it indicates is that he is self-sufficient. That means God doesn't need anything. He loves our worship. He loves our praise. He loves to be in our lives, but he needs none of it. God is self-sufficient. I would say because he is self-sufficient, that makes him all-sufficient. So because God has no need, he can definitely help you in your time of need. And the third is this, that he is ever present. So that word I am carries the verb tense of a future constant. So it's I am is a state. It's not like he was. Right? That's what we have this language in the New Testament, who was, who is, and who is to come. Yeah. It's the same thing when you say I am. It has a future present to it. God, it's like Jesus is saying, I am here, I was there, and I'm always going to be here. Yeah. So when he says I am, he's saying I am ever present help in trouble, in needs, in wins, in losses, in difficulties, in victory. I am. I'm always there. So when you're going through a storm, remember, I am. Remember him. Remember him because he is. We can endure. We can hold on. And so there's a funny little verse in 21. I want to hit on it real quick because it's very interesting. I was going to skip over it, and then this morning I was like, I got to talk about that because it's a little trippy. So verse 21, it says that when Jesus got in the boat, it says immediately they were at the dock. Immediately they landed. So it's like Jesus gets in there. They're like, oh, it is Jesus. We're good. And then boom, they're there. And it's almost like the Lord, like supernaturally, like beam them up, Scotty, like they're there. They're like, oh, we thought we were still in the middle of the lake, but now some translators have said that this word also can be translated straightway, so they went there. But I like the immediate thing. I think it's a little bit blurry that it's like they're like, hey, because it's like when the I am is there, you're right where you need to be. And so there he is. So they get on the other side, and they're there, they landed. Well, then all of a sudden, all these other boats start showing up. The people that were there yesterday eating the bread, they'd start looking for Jesus. They start seeking the Lord. And they weren't seeking his presence, but they were seeking his provision. And so what happens is they get in these boats and they show up on the other side of the lake and they find Jesus. And this is where we pick up in verse 25. When they found him on the other side of the sea, they said to him, Rabbi, when did you come here? And Jesus doesn't answer a question. I love it. I love it when I ask the Lord questions and he doesn't answer the question. And Jesus said to them, truly, truly, I say to you, you are seeking me, not because you saw signs. It wasn't even because you saw the sign, but because you ate your fill of the loaves. You showed up because you're hungry. Because that bread, the substance of that bread eventually wore out. You're not full anymore. You're hungry again. That's why you're here. So here you're coming to buffet Jesus to show up and eat again because your bellies are empty. Come on, how many of y'all, sometimes the only time that you come to Jesus is when you're empty? Now he's about to teach us something about that. So he says, truly, truly, I say to you, you are seeking me not because you saw signs, but because you ate your full of the loaves. Do not work. This is awesome. Do not work for food that perishes. The food that perishes in your belly because tomorrow it'll be gone, or the food that'll be on your table. Don't work for that. Are you saying Jesus isn't saying to work? That's not what Jesus is saying. Jesus is saying don't let that be the drive of your life. Don't let possessions, don't let provisions even be the drive of your life. And this is what we do. I want to have better provisions, so I need a better job. Jesus is like, don't pursue any of that. But the food that endures for eternal life, which the Son of Man will give you. So he's like, I'm going to provide for you the life that you need, the bread that you need. For on him the Father has set his seal. And when they said to him, what must we do? You're saying we don't got to go to work? You're saying we don't have to work for this bread that you're talking about? What do we got to do for the works God requires? What do you got to do to the works of God? What are the works of God? What is the list? We've been living by a list, right? They're Jewish people. Tell us, what is God requiring of us? And Jesus answered them, this is the gospel. Verse 29. This is the work of God, that you believe in him who he has sent. This is the gospel. The gospel is, what do I need to do to earn my way into heaven? That's not the gospel. What do I need to do to be made right with God? You can't do anything to be made right with God. There's not enough hoops that you can jump through, or checkpoints that you can pass, or boxes that you can fill. There's not enough. Listen, you go to church, you can have a devotional time. You can read through the Bible in a year. You can read through the Bible in a month. You can do all the things, all the good deeds, feed the homeless, meet all the social justice needs. You can do all of it and miss it. Those are not the works God requires. But we're really good at telling people what God requires. And this is what God says God requires, that you believe on the one he has sent. What do I have to do to please God? Trust Jesus. That's the gospel. All your works have ever done has got you in trouble. I'm not saying that you haven't done a few good things, but none of them made you right with Jesus. Not one of them. Those things should follow us. So they said to him, that's great. What sign will you do that we may see and believe you? Now, hold up. Didn't yesterday he just did a sign? He just fed 15 a mega church with kids' lunch. What is up with that? Didn't he just give them a sign? I mean, his disciples just had the sign of walking on the water. They weren't there for that, but they just saw a miracle. Now they're asking for another sign. Our fathers, and then they begin to reference Moses. Here we go again. Our fathers ate the manna in the wilderness, as it is written. You know because you wrote it, apparently. He gave them bread from heaven to eat. And Jesus said to them, truly, truly, I say to you, it was not Moses that gave the bread from heaven, but my Father that gives you true bread from heaven. So they're saying when we traveled through a sea, now they traveled over the sea in boats. When we traveled through a sea and we got to the next place, Moses provided for us. And he's like, Moses didn't provide for you. that was my Father. And we learned last week that when Jesus calls God his Father, that he is equating himself with God. And so again, they're like, oh, here he goes with this God stuff again, like he's God. Yeah, he is. So Jesus is like, I gave you a sign 1,300 years ago, and I gave you a sign yesterday. So it's interesting that they're making this statement. They keep getting caught up on Moses because Moses was the lawgiver. Moses was the one who set the way for their life. So God came to Moses and said, I am. Again, this is all John 1:17 again, right? The law was given through Moses, but grace and truth came through Jesus. God told Moses, say, I am has sent you. Jesus says, the I am is here. Yeah. Moses was given a name for God. Jesus is God. And then he adds this statement, I am, the I am that Moses spoke about, I am the bread of life. Yeah. Jesus is the man of the manna. The manna speaks of a man. The man is Jesus. So Jesus and the manna. So manna was, what is manna? So manna, that's what it is. Manna means what is it? So every day, the children of Israel, after they had crossed over, right? After they're in the land, they're eating. Every day God says, I'm going to provide for you. Yeah. All you have to do is go outside, and every morning, there's going to be this flaky white bread that falls down from heaven, and it'll be on the ground. And they would take that and they'd make little cakes, they'd make tortillas, they would make manna-wich, they would make manicotti, everything. They got real sick of it, they complained about it, God provided for them, and it was called daily bread. So anytime that you think of daily bread, you always got to remember manna, because this is their reference point. The reason why it's daily bread is because that manna it was really good, it was a little bit sweet. Not like donut sweet, but like, you could probably like put some honey or something in it. And so they would have this manna, and every day they went out and it was fresh from heaven. One scripture says it was the food of angels. And so they would eat this every day, and it was only good for a day. So if you took it and you're like, oh man, I'm going to collect some for tomorrow, so I don't go outside and pick it up. I'm just going to sit around and scroll all day. And so you would go out, you would open up that jar that you put it in, and it would be rotten. This is the problem with yesterday's manna. Yeah. Yesterday's manna is toxic. Yeah. And some of y'all living on yesterday's manna. This is why the Lord said, give us today our daily bread. He didn't say, give me our weekly bread. He didn't say, give me my monthly bread. The only time that manna was good for more than one day was the day before the Sabbath. Yeah. Because on the Sabbath, they weren't supposed to pick it up. So the Lord said, you know what? The bread that I pour down, the bread that I rain down, let's just call it Saturday for our Western thinking, the brain that I rain down on Saturday, you can eat that on the next day. It doesn't expire that day. But all the other days, it expires that day. Beloved, I want to encourage you in this daily bread concept that what God speaks to you today is good for today. Yeah. That doesn't mean that it doesn't carry on from your life and you don't build it. But some of y'all have been living on something God did 30 years ago. Come on. He wants to do a fresh thing in your life. Yeah. And so eat the daily bread. So Jesus is saying, listen, this all is pointing to me. He put the man in manna. So the temporary bread that fell pointed to the bread of Jesus. So he's like, my dad gave that to you. And so in verse 33, he says, for the bread of God is he who comes down from heaven. Isn't it interesting that the manna came down from heaven? And then Jesus is like, I am the man who came down from heaven and gives life to the world. Not just those that are gathering, but for everyone can eat of me. Then they said to him, sir, give us this bread, always. And Jesus said to them, I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me shall not hunger, and whoever believes in me shall never thirst. Isn't this reminiscent of John chapter 4 that we talked about St. Fotina at the well, the woman at the well? She shows up. Jesus is like, you drink this water, you're never going to be thirsty again. Jesus is saying the same thing about the bread. He says, I'm the bread of life. Whoever comes to me shall not hunger, and whoever believes in me shall never thirst. But I say to you that you have seen me, and you do not believe. You've witnessed it. You saw what I can do, but you failed to believe. And he says this in verse 37, all that the Father gives me will come to me, and whoever comes to me, I will never cast out. Will you hear this word right here? Because some of you think that if you come to Jesus, he's not going to accept you. He's saying this, all who come to me, I won't cast them out. Yeah. I'll give them bread to eat. I'll have some, no matter how many times they said they were going to show up and they didn't. I can tell you, from 1974, maybe not completely 74, let's just call it 1980, as a little boy, I remember going to the Lord. Lord, save me. I don't want to go to hell. I can't tell you, I prayed that prayer thousands and thousands of times. Jesus, drunk on the toilet. Lord, save me. I don't want to go to hell. If I die tonight, I feel like I'm going to die. How many of y'all have ever done that before? I lived my whole life of that. And when I was 18 years old, it finally mattered. I finally meant it. And you know what he didn't do? He didn't go, I've heard this before. Yep. That's not what he did. He said, come on in. Just like he did the first time. He said, come on in. And it didn't take him that long to accept me, but it took me that long to accept him and his gospel. So he says, I will never cast you out. Listen, he's not put up, he knew what he was getting into. He knew how fickle you were. You aren't surprising him with your unfaithfulness. Come again, eat again. But I say to you that you have seen me, yet you do not believe. So Jesus is just putting this, and so he says, for I've come down from heaven. There it is again. Now he says this 5 times, which 5 is the number of grace. So interesting is like the manna came down, I came down 5 times, not to do my own will, but the will of him who sent me. So the Jews, they're like, now when it says the Jews here, what we understand is that when the Jews are speaking up, it's their leaders, right? The leaders are, not all of them are saying this, but they're all following their leaders. So it says that they grumbled about him, and then they were like, what's this guy talking about? He's the bread of life. He's the I am. What is the guy talking? Isn't this Joseph and Mary's boy? I mean, we watched this kid grow up. We changed his diapers, right? And they're like totally discrediting him because of where he came from. And they're just putting it all. He's all talking about this God talk like God's his father. He's calling himself. We watched him grow up. Our kids played with him. The whole thing, they are discrediting him. They did not like where he came from. They did not like that he's claiming to be the bread of life. They don't like how he's calling God his father. They loved the miracle until they heard the message. And this is how many are today. We love the works of Jesus. Oh, he just loved everyone and got it into their mess and all that. We all love that. But he's not calling you to just love the methods and the miracles. He's calling you to love the man. He's calling you to say, Jesus, I believe you, I trust you, and you're good enough for me to give my life for. Will you love the message? And the message will rub us, won't it? It's always a rub. The message, we're like, oh, it's hard, Lord, right? Oh, that's my weakness, right? That's what we say. So they're bailing. They're complaining. They're leaving. And so what does Jesus do? Does he try to be winsome? No, he locks down. He locks in and goes hard. He says, truly, truly, I say to you, whoever believes has eternal life. I am the bread of life. Your fathers ate that manna in the wilderness and they all died. This is the bread that comes down from heaven, so that one may eat of it and not die. I am the living bread that came down from heaven. All that other bread, it wasted up. But I'm the living bread that came down from heaven. If anyone eats of this bread himself, he will live forever. And the bread that I will give him will be life. For the life of the world is my flesh. Whoa. We're out. What he's talking about, cannibalism? Jesus is saying, eat my flesh? What is this bread of life stuff? Why does Jesus, the first I am compound statement, why does he connect it to being the bread of life? Because it tells us a lot. First of all, it tells us that he's essential. You can't live without bread. You can just call it food, right? Bread is the staple of their culture. You can't live without tortillas. Come on, Texans. You can't live without Whataburger, right? I mean, it's just like, you can't. Some of y'all imports, you need to understand the beauty of Water. That was a nice little laugh there, Aaron. Thank you for that. He is essential. How long can you go without eating? Everyone has to eat. Listen, Jesus is essential. Most people treat him as optional, but Jesus is essential. It is the work that God requires is to believe on the one he has sent. And we make it about all this stuff. And he's like, I'm essential. You got to have me. And we have this lie that we believe in the culture. Some of y'all aren't going to like this. What's up with you telling me all this stuff I don't like? We go, I know your little Stanley has this printed on there. You are enough. The world is telling you, you are enough. Yeah. You're enough. You're enough. You are enough, just as you are. Let me tell you this. The truth is, you are valuable. The lie is, I'm enough. If you were enough, then you didn't need Jesus. And you are not enough. You are not enough, but he is enough. And what he did is enough to win you and to rescue you and to redeem you and to clothe you with the righteousness of God in Christ Jesus. You were worthy, you were worth it, but you weren't enough. But Jesus, by his grace, because he is enough, you will have all you need in him. Again, Psalm 23, I shall not be in want. I've got enough because I've got him. Are y'all okay on that? Some of y'all so consumed with self-care message and all this hippie stuff that the world's preaching that you need to get into the word. Number 2, he is sufficient. He is sufficient. So that word, Yahweh, which we have for Lord in the Old Testament, is many times first spoken to Abraham in Genesis chapter 22. The word Yahweh, which doesn't have vowels in it, it's actually YHWH. We created later, we said Jehovah to kind of help us say it better. But it's actually Yahweh. There's a compound word that the Lord gave Abraham. And the reason why God gave us this name is so that he would have a covenant name. So when God signs a contract, he signs it with the name Yahweh. And so what the Lord did is with Abraham, and he says, I am Yahweh Jireh. Or we go, Jehovah Jireh, right? Or we go, Jireh, you are enough. Right? We did the whole Jireh thing because we understand that Yahweh Jireh means that the Lord is enough. And so Jesus is sufficient. My God, the Apostle Paul said in Philippians 4:19, he says, my God shall supply all of your needs. Yeah. All of them according to his riches and glory. It's according to Jesus' riches and glory. He is sufficient. And because he is sufficient, you will have all that you need because he's enough. Number 3, he sustains. That daily bread was enough for that day. It sustained enough for that day. But Jesus is the bread that sustains us. Yeah. Yes. And we have a lot of people in the church, and I want to encourage you today to stop talking about your deficiencies all the time. You have deficiencies, I have deficiencies, all this, but you are not malnourished. Yeah. You are not malnourished. You have the sustainer, the great sustainer, the bread of life. You have the eternal bread of life inside of you. Yes. So if we are malnourished, it's simply because we're not eating. And because he sustains you, because he sustains, hold on. Hold on to him. Cling to him. He is the sustainer. And we go, I don't know how much longer I can go on. You can't go on at all. Right. It's never been give you strength. It's never been, Lord, give me strength. He's not going to give you strength. He's going to ask you to trust his strength. That's what he's going to do. You cling on to him and you let him carry. This is what trust is. It's not what I can do, make me better, make me better. You just be faithful. You hold on. Number 4, he satisfies. He satisfies. Jesus is the bread that satisfies the deepest cravings of the human heart. Listen, there is nothing more. Most of us, you've done this too. You've done this. Most of us have given our lives, we're like, oh man, if I could just have one more click, if I could just have one more like, if I could just have one more person love me, if I could just have one more piece of that substance. If I could just have, I'll have enough. I'll be satisfied. And this is how we live our life. This is why we sin. We sin because we think we'll have satisfaction. And then what we do is we wake up tomorrow and go, I don't feel satisfied. So we sin again. Listen, anytime that you're going to anything other than Jesus for satisfaction, that's what sin is. Well, is it a sin? Are you going there to be satisfied? Listen, I love my wife. She's phenomenal. There's not a better person, better human than I know, but she is not my satisfaction. But I can get into these modes sometimes. Oh, if the church was bigger, I'd be satisfied. And at the end of the day, we end up empty. I want to encourage you in this thought because some of you are like, I know Jesus is satisfied, but I'm not feeling satisfied in him. Let me help you with this. Cravings are nurtured. You get more hungry for Jesus by feasting on Jesus. Some of you are like, oh, I'm just not hungry for the Lord anymore. When's the last time you spent time in his presence? When's the last time that you showed up a few minutes early before church to get your heart set and ready to go and worship him instead of kind of trickling in and, you know, with your $14 Starbucks? Right? 14, they make $14. I think you probably can get one of those. Listen, our fulfillment and our satisfaction is in him. He's way more satisfying. And what's crazy is it's like eternally rewarding. Like you feel good about that decision, don't you? Like when you've trusted Jesus, like how many times do we run to things for satisfaction and we don't feel good that we ran to that for satisfaction? Yep. When we run to Jesus, there's no shame attached to it. Right? We're like, hey, I did pretty good. I needed him and I went to him instead of going to that. So you got to nurture that craving. But all cravings are nurtured, right? There's this place in El Paso, Chico's Tacos. The first time I had it, I was like, this is weird. Why are people talking about this? It's like a soggy flauta in stew, like red. This is the weirdest thing. And then I ate it like 2 or 3 times, and I'm like, hey, it's a little better every time I ate it. And now I'm like, that's a first stop if I'm going to EP. Like, that's where I'm going. Like, that's a first stop and sometimes the last stop. Because I crave it now. But I haven't always craved it. I learned to crave it. I nurtured that craving. Number 5, he shares himself. So the bread of life was broken to be shared. Jesus was broken to be shared. Just like he broke that bread and shared it with those people, he broke the bread of his body. His body was broken so that he could be shared. And when we partake of him, when we eat that bread, when we feast on him, Paul said that I might know him in his suffering. Philippians 4, that I might know him in his resurrection, that I might know. I'm taking all of Jesus. I'm eating all of Jesus, all the ingredients, all the teaching, all the work, all the truth. I'm feasting on him because he is true food. This is what he says. What does that mean when he says he is true food? He's saying that he is the reality of the food that you need. Yeah. Unless you eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you have no life in him. And again, they're thinking cannibalism. Yeah. Did you know that you are what you eat? Oh no. We've heard that our whole lives. In the kingdom, you are what you eat. Your union with him grows as you feast on him. Yeah. And you do have a union with him. And you are made right with him. Yeah. So back to this Passover idea, because this is really hard for them to accept. They're bailing. The disciples are bailing. Again, back to the Passover. Look, Passover was at hand. This is during Passover. Jesus is showing them a type and a shadow. Manna in the wilderness. Walking on the water, which the sea was always considered a place of chaos. Jesus has authority over it. Not through it, but over it. Come on. Yeah. And then one of the things that they would do on Passover is they would eat a lamb. They ate the entire thing. None of it could be wasted. Yeah. They had to eat the whole Passover lamb. Like the eyeballs and stuff. And the brains. Some tacos out of that, right with that manna. They ate the whole thing. So when Jesus is saying, partake of me, he's saying, eat all of me. Eat the whole thing. Feast on me. And we like to nibble here and nibble there. Now he says this. He says, the words that I've spoken are spirit and life. He's not being literal here, physical flesh. He's emphasizing partaking. We must feast on him. And he says, whoever feeds on my flesh and drinks my blood, look at this language, abides in me. 2 words, feast, feeds, and abides. The word abides, in the Greek language, the word meno, which means remain, which means live, which means dwell. It's the same where we get in John 15 when we talk about the upper room discourse, when he says, if you remain in me, I will remain in you. Jesus right here is saying that if you feed on his flesh and drink of his blood, you remain in him by partaking. And the other is the word feeds. That word feeds there doesn't mean sit down and have a meal. Yeah. That word feeds there is an ongoing tense. It's present active tense. It means ongoing repeated action. It's not a meal. It's the idea of one who keeps on feeding or chewing. It's like what a cow does when a cow eats grass and he regurgitates it. Right? He eats it. Have you ever seen a cow? He takes a bite and he's eating on that for all right, bro, you gonna swallow it? He swallow it and pulls it back up. It's kind of gross. And he chews on it some more. This is what Jesus is talking about. That we eat, that we regurgitate, that we ruminate, that we meditate. The scripture talks about this with the word of God. Yeah. That we feast, that we eat, that we meditate. And listen, when the word comes to you, when Jesus is coming to you, you continually ruminate on that word. You just continually bring it back up. We're feasting on the Lord. We're feasting on his work. Are you guys okay? Yeah. We're eating on this. So the disciples, and we're closing up. We're closing up because it's late and my lunch is already cold. So it says this. The disciples said this in verse 60. They said, this is a hard saying. Yeah. Who can listen to it? Yeah. So they start bailing. They're dipping. Many of the disciples turned their back and no longer walked with him. So Jesus said to the 12, do you want to go away as well? And Simon Peter answered him, Lord, where are we going to go? Where else are we going to go? You have the words of eternal life. And we have believed and have come to know that you are the Holy One. So it's like we believed, we place our trust in you, and we come to know that you are the Holy One. You're the Holy One of God. You're the one that was promised. Yes, you are the Messiah. You are the bread of life, Lord. Where else are we going to go to get this kind of satisfaction? Where else are we going to go to get this kind of fulfillment? Where else are we going to go? And we live our lives all the time going somewhere else. And the Lord just looks at him and he's like, are you going to go too? Listen, I've been following the Lord for a long time. Sometimes better than others. But I've known a lot of people. Gang, hear me. As many that have stopped following, that have followed. And it's heartbreaking. The people that I know, people that I loved, people that I followed the Lord with, and they dip. And I'm just at the point, I've been at it for a long time. I'm just like, dude, I've done the world thing. I've done the play the church thing. I've done the back and forth thing. I've done the hypocrite thing. And I'm not perfect. It's not about perfection. It's about direction. It's like I haven't, there's times I haven't been good at it. But where else am I going to go? What other race am I going to run?
Thank you so much for joining us today at Overflow Church. Make sure and comment below and let us know that you are here to encounter Jesus with us today. Also, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss anything coming from us in the future. Have a great week.